Did you grow up with toxic parents? How much of your current self-worth issues come from your childhood? Or maybe your parents are wonderful and loving, and yet there are some psychological issues you struggle with that you don't really know where they came from. This was definitely the case for me. I started doing therapy because there was just so much I wanted to change about myself, so much I disliked of myself, like certain things I wanted to do differently, things that made me uncomfortable that I wanted to learn how to deal with. And of course, I really wanted to build my self-esteem and learn to accept and love myself just as I am. And yet, from the first moment, whenever the conversation led to my childhood, my answer was always the same. I had a wonderful, happy childhood and my parents are amazing, so it has to be something else that's causing all of this. Immediately, I would throw aside something that many people who do a little bit of work on themselves know pretty well, that most of the time, it's all about the parents. Now, to be perfectly clear, I do have wonderful, loving, supportive parents. Parents who I am absolutely sure did the best they possibly could in raising me and my sister. Parents who supported me and enabled me to do what I do today. But unfortunately, it doesn't mean they were perfect and did everything right. And a lot of times, the things that are said and done without much thought or intention, or with the best of intentions, are the ones that leave the biggest mark. What I mean to say is leaving a mark on a child's notion of self is about more than physical abuse or bad intentions. Parents can have toxic behaviors and hurt their children emotionally for many other reasons. Because they don't know any better, because of their own mental and self-esteem issues, because they do things their parents did to them because everyone else does it and so they'll do it too. Quite often it is unconsciously done, but the consequences can be truly devastating. Toxic parents can make a child resent who they are and how they feel, distrust others, and become unable to have any kind of relationship. All of the opposites of what a parent is supposed to do for a child, right? Parents should nurture their child in any way they can. They should love them and raise them to be confident, healthy adults while helping them build a strong personality and great self-esteem. And while I have always felt loved and taken care of, while I grew up believing I could be anything I wanted to be, I've also struggled with my notion of self-worth, with feeling comfortable enough to be the quirky, sometimes awkward person that I am. And that's what this video is all about. Some of the toxic behaviors I was able to identify in my childhood that caused many of the issues I've had to work through to be happy. And that will probably sound very familiar to you too. Now, the first and most common one are the snarky comments that were meant to be funny, but weren't. Like about the way a child looks. Because I was taller than my older sister by the age of 6 and larger too, because I wore braces and glasses from an early age and had really awkward hair. Because I like to dress really girly and wear these really princessy dresses to school. Or about the way a child expresses themselves. For me, because I also like to use really big words. Yeah, my mom liked to make fun of me about that, still does to this day. All of that led to a lot of insecurities in body image issues when in all honesty the words that were spoken weren't even that offensive. There was no name calling or anything, just simple remarks for fun's sake that made me really self-conscious about just about anything that made me who I was. Now the next one is all the questioning and censoring of a child's behavior. My mom was really strict behavior-wise, so she was always very alert when it came to how we handled ourselves, both at home and with other people. Now, I was really well behaved. I guess I've been a people pleaser all my life, what can I say? And the one time I got into trouble was when I followed any of my sister's crazy plans, because she had always had these crazy ideas that usually didn't end up well. But still, that wasn't enough. There would be all these questions. Why are you sitting like that? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Both in front of others and privately. And guys, I get it. It was about trying to educate us, and there is nothing wrong with wanting your children to be on their best behavior. The thing is, the calling out, the questioning of everything a child does makes them notice everything and anything they do, makes them question everything and anything they do. So soon enough, they're not comfortable in their own skins. They're always checking themselves. And it's just so easy to take that with you into adulthood, because it's not like you wake up one day and you go, yeah, I'm not going to care about how I look to others anymore. I'm not going to worry about what I do and how it's perceived. I just don't care anymore. It doesn't work like that. Also, there's the complaints. And this I remember feeling particularly sad about. Like I've said, we were great kids, and as we grew, really responsible and well-behaved teenagers, top students who never did anything too crazy. But because my father was away a lot, my mom was always letting us know how hard it was for her to deal with us, how tiresome we were, how exhausted she felt. And again, I get it. Being a stay-at-home mom with little support can be difficult, but it also made us feel like a burden, and how nothing we did was enough to please her. And let's let me tell you, if you don't already know, that can really mess up a child's head because it makes them feel like they're not enough the way they are, and that's how they become people pleasers, always looking for validation from others, putting their self-worth in other people's hands. Now, another major one for me growing up were the unhealthy comparisons to just about anyone and anything. Now, my father, being a self-made man that came from absolute poverty, didn't really feel impressed with any of our achievements because he'd done so great in so much harder conditions in comparison and didn't really let us forget it. My mom would compare our grades to other students. Now, if ours were better, it was our job to get good grades. If theirs were better, we'd never get the end of it. For me personally, there was a constant comparison to my older sister, who is thinner and a social butterfly who is able to strike up a conversation with just about anyone. And since I resembled my mom so much, she would also compare the two of us and pin me down with each and every bit of insecurity she had about herself. And it's gut-wrenching because I get it, it comes from a place of worry and love for me. But the fact of the matter is, I've grown up hearing things like, you're eating too much, you don't want to end up like me, or you should try and talk to people and not be as shy as I am. Or even, yeah, I know what you're thinking, you're like me, we're the same. And nothing I would say to try and prove I'm actually different, in my own person would work. All of this really chips away at a child's sense of self. Like they're not allowed to be their own person, like their own identity isn't enough, but it should be a collage of everything that's good about other people. It also makes you a bit of an overachiever because the only way to come out on top in a comparison is to do better, right? And yeah, I've also ended up struggling with my weight and overeating, and it's taking me all my life to look myself in the mirror and actually like what I see, which is me, just me, no one else. Now, this next one is definitely one of those parents do a lot without realizing exactly how big a mark they're leaving in their children's life, which is to make empty promises or lying. And I see it happen so many times with friends and family. They always tell themselves the kids won't remember that promise or that lie, and maybe they won't. But what they will remember is how often their parents promised things that ended up never happening. How early they realized people can lie, say things they don't mean, and make promises they have no intention of keeping. And that leads to all sorts of trust issues, with the parents and anyone they meet along the way. It seems to me like that is too high a price to pay to get a child to comply with whatever they want. Oh, we'll go there tomorrow. Oh, I'll get it for you next week. Yes, we will definitely do that soon. Or worse still, if you tell me about it, I won't get angry. If you're honest, I won't be mad. Then the child comes clean and gets punished. Simple things parents say without thinking just to get a desired outcome that can backfire so easily. At best, they won't trust easily. At worst, they won't be able to have an honest, trusting relationship with anyone, or end up becoming liars themselves because that's what they saw growing up. Lying to make your life easier or to escape responsibility is something that is way too common nowadays, and it has to come from somewhere, right? Now, I know a lot of people who have much bigger lists, like the friend whose mom once told them in a time of anger that they regretted having them, or people who've had their parents degrade and humiliate them to assert dominance and show who's the boss, or the selfish parents who always place their own interests above their children. The list of toxic parent behavior really does go on and on. Today, I still maintain I had a wonderful, happy childhood and that my parents are amazing. The only difference being I am now able to separate their occasional toxic behaviors from who they are, much in the same way I am able to separate who I am from who they made me feel with those behaviors. And the difference in that alone is life-changing, let me tell you. Hopefully, this video has helped you do the same. That is it for me today, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.